Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Tinnitist TV. Today I am talking to Fanny. You know, it's said that good things come to those who wait. Well, the women of Fanny have been waiting since the 70s to get their due. But thanks to the recent documentary Fanny, The Right to Rock, this groundbreaking all-female band are finally seeing the respect they deserve. Directed by Canadian filmmaker Bobbi Jo Hart, the movie follows the California band through the ups and downs of a career that included 5 major label albums, tours with the likes of Slade in Chicago, praise from people like David Bowie, and even a recent comeback album. Loaded with tons of archival footage and commentary from friends and famous fans, including Joe Elliott, Bonnie Raitt, Earl Slick, and many others, it's one of the most entertaining and revealing music documentaries of the year. Here in Canada, luckily, it's been streaming on TV for several months already. But in America, it's just debuting in theaters. So band members June Millington, Alice de Buhr, and Patti Quatro zoomed in to talk to me about the documentary, their bad timing, backing Barbra Streisand, and lots more. Enjoy. It is a pleasure today to talk to the women of Fanny. Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
Great. So let me just introduce everybody. So for people who are trying to figure out who's who, we've got, and you can wave when I introduce you so everybody knows, we've got guitarist June Millington. We've got guitarist Patti Quatro. And we've got drummer Alice de Buhr.
I don't have to wave.
No, you're there by process of elimination. We worked it out, right? All right. So listen, the movie, Fanny, The Right to Rock, this great documentary, it's been out for a while now. People have started seeing it. I'm sure you've started to get, reactions from it. What's that been like? What kind of reactions have you got, and how has it made you feel the way people have been taking to this movie?
June?
Well, of course, it makes me feel really good. And in terms of what it's done, the attention onto Fanny really intensified after the Beat Club videos were released. I mean, seriously, all over the world, people started to go, "Oh my God, who is that?" Or "I saw you when I was, 15 in 1972." Or I remember my first day working at the record store. This is from some guy in England. I was stoned on acid, and I heard Fanny come on, and I completely lost it. Really interesting stuff like that. So what this documentary has done is build upon that. It's just
Right.
made a lot of more people super interested, and of course, what I call the Fannies. All the Fannies are in it, pretty much. You know, Jean and Patti, Alice, Bree. I mean, we weren't all in the band at the same time, but we're all the Fannies as far as.
Were you surprised at how popular, that it's increased the popularity? I mean, were you kind of worried that maybe you would put this out and it would just sort of, just hang there?
No, I wasn't surprised because I have always believed that what Fanny did and the sound that we created was ahead of its time. That as I've listened to it, especially over the last 3-4 years, where I've really dived deeply into the music and listened to the guitars and listened to the drums and listened to the bass and the keyboards, it was still so valid to me that to me it was just a matter of more people need to hear it to become familiar, because I think that the music holds up pretty darn well.
People love history and rediscovering things. And this movie has really reintroduced a key element for women musicians that broke down doors at that era. So it feels real good to reintroduce people to who was rocking it way back then and doing it as a woman.
Yeah, well said. And I mean, that's one of the things I love about the documentary is, I mean, there's a lot of ways that it could have been approached. But I love the fact that it kind of does a great job of covering all the things. I mean, you get the, just your basic history, the biography of the band, as it were. You have that sex, drugs, and rock and roll part for people who want that. It really does a great deal. Well, it's in there. It does. It does. It does it.
Wait a minute. Did you watch the right movie?
Oh, it's got a little bit of it in there, but you
Not a
know,
little bit of it.
But
whatever.
Come
All
on,
right,
come
all right,
on.
keep
Let's
going.
not pretend.
Carry on.
but you have to say that the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, for those of us who lived it, was really, really tame compared to most of the bands
Yeah.
in our era. I mean, really.
I agree with Alice. I
Yeah,
agree with
don't
Alice.
spoil it. But
I
the
don't
thing
think
is,
we went
it
deep.
also does a great job of making it clear that you guys were just a great band.
Right.
And it also covers the whole thing of like you were talking about, that you broke down doors, that you were pioneers. I mean, that must have been, very satisfying, because I mean, was one of those things more important to you? Was it more important to be taken seriously as musicians and finally get your respect in that regard? Or was it more important to be seen as trailblazers and all of that stuff? Or did the two just kind of go hand in hand for you all?
Yeah.
Number one for
Uh-huh.
me, starting with the Svelts in '65, the main goal was not to be sneered at and condescended upon, because that was the overall reaction. I don't know if you experienced that, Patti, with your band, but that's what we experienced in the Svelts in Sacramento, California, which is essentially a cow town with great music and great musicians. But the mentality of society at the time was they just could not accept. We didn't even start to play. We just walked on stage and they started to sneer, and the boys would do this, and so that was number one. So the respect came the minute we started playing, right?
Sure.
So in 5 or 6 minutes, it changed. And by the time we got to Fanny, 1970, 71, 72, we still heard Not Bad for Chicks, but you could see the respect in their faces before we started playing. So that was pretty big, pretty big.
And we didn't care. I don't think any of us were like going out to try to find respect. We just had a passion to play music. And that's what we wanted to do. And we didn't feel that we could not do that, even though society looked at it like, oh, one of these girls trying to do. Nobody rocked a guitar between their legs or played the drums, So, I mean,
Wait a minute.
we didn't look at it like we were trying to do something that wouldn't be allowed,
Yeah, I think the main overall feeling that I had in those years, I mean, we heard the Good for Chicks and this and that, but the main thing for me was I knew that every time the four of us got on stage, that the music was going to be so good and so much fun and so solid and tight as a band. I didn't think about it's good for chicks. I didn't think about looking for respect. It was, I just went out and sat down and did it. It's like June says in the movie, we just fucking did it.
That's right.
Yeah. And did it well. I mean, there are a lot of people in this movie who, make that point. You've got tons of cameos and appearances from people you knew, people you worked with, people you were friends with, people you influenced. Do any of those sort of mean more than others? Is there somebody's endorsement in there that really you're, thrilled to have?
Oh, I think they're all really good. I love Cherie Curry's comment at the top. Something about the men just didn't want to give it up. They felt like it was theirs, and we were there to snatch it away. I mean, we didn't think of it that way, but they thought of it that way, maybe. But to put it in perspective, let me just mention, because I realized as you were just talking, Fanny was in L.A. at Fanny Hill when men landed on the moon. Let's just put it in perspective. And we'd already been through the Svelte 65 and Wild Honey, got to L.A. in 69, so when they landed on the moon, we felt like we were veterans.
It was mostly, it was a lot of the people you met that were mentioned in the movie, giving their kudos and stuff. A lot of them, the men, we never found the men to be anything but supportive. I mean, the guys friggin' loved it. They loved playing with a woman that could really play and all that. They thought it was very cool. It was the business people that were like, oh, they're going to get pregnant, fall in love, blah, blah. They didn't want to take a risk. But the musicians, they were very supportive.
Yeah. Well, the better they were, the more supportive they were.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
well,
sorry.
isn't that the way though? Yeah.
Just kept sneering, you know. I'm like, dude, you're not that good, so quit it, you know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that was the point where we realized we were better than them, and it didn't take that long, you know.
Right.
That's
Uh,
good.
Another thing I love about this movie is all that old footage. I mean, was it hard to find all that stuff, or was it all in some? Is somebody a pack rat?
Well, it's about the money, you know. So what they could afford is what they bought. I mean, there's a lot of footage and photos on us, but
Really?
there was some stuff that wasn't there because I know that exorbitant demands are being made, and you know, we don't make a cent from any of that.
Right.
I thought it was incredible they had some of it in the film. There is a lot out there. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
mean, we were one of the most photographed and videoed and etc. bands, really, of all time. I mean, certainly more than any other all-girl band.
I would
Certainly.
imagine. Yeah. Is
We had the
anybody?
good luck to have the people hanging around, like Linda Wolf was living with us. She was working as a secretary at Reprise, and we came in for our first meeting, right, at Reprise, which was essentially on the Warner Brothers movie lot, Warner Brothers owned Reprise. And she saw us waft by her desk, and she not only saw the long hair, but she could smell the conditioner. See, that's a girl thing.
Yeah.
And she moved into Fanny Hill with us within a month. I mean, she quit her job and just moved in with us.
Right.
And she wasn't even a photographer yet. And she was worried about what she was going to do. So I handed her the camera that my dad gave me. And I said, hey, why don't you take pictures? Ergo, the hundreds of thousands of photos of us rehearsing at Fanny Hill that really showed our progress. And the photo at on Sunset Strip that's used a lot of the. It's got Elton John on it. It's got Fanny.
Right.
You know, and she had us at gigs and so on. And there are other people, of course, who were shooting us. So it's pretty incredible because if you want to look for Fanny, you're going to find Fanny.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Yeah,
Fanny.
you'll find it.
Yeah.
We had a different TV shows, and I know Bobby had a real hard time dealing with the people because sometimes in the archives they tape over them. We did American Bandstand with Freddie Cannon. We did Mike Douglas, and trying to get a hold of that
Mhm.
and get a splice of it is very difficult. I tried years ago, and it's just hard. It's hard.
The Tonight Show, no one will ever get unless somebody taped it on the TV, which maybe somebody did, and they
Yeah,
They destroyed that.
or
They
something. Yeah.
destroyed
they
that.
destroy a lot of the old stuff. Yeah, stupidly, but they do. They tape over it.
Well, that Dick Cavett footage is number
Imagine
one.
taping over Dick Clark. I mean, God,
Yeah, but the
historic
Dick,
icon.
the Dick Cavett footage to me is it's American television, and we had to do lip syncing so much on American television, but the Dick Cavett show we got to do live, and you can feel that same energy that
Yeah.
you get from Beat Club and from
Did
the
I
French.
play on that?
Yeah,
I don't
June.
remember that at all.
June, you were in the band when I was in the band.
Okay, well, okay, there it is. History. We got it.
It's up on the FannyRocks.com website.
Oh, I got to go to Fanny Rocks. Okay.
Yeah.
That brings up a good point. How much disagreement was there or discussion was there when you were watching the movie and going, hey, wait a minute, that didn't happen that way, or I remember that differently?
Hey, groups are tough. There's always stuff going on, but these women just wanted to rock. And that's what we did. You know, we found our way to the passion. Of course, they're shit. Groups are rough.
I think
Sure,
that
yeah.
looking at the film, there were parts where I said, well, that didn't happen that way. That way. You know, I didn't know. We didn't do that.
Oh,
You know,
well,
what?
They're your journals in the movie,
funny.
right?
It's expected to me. That stuff happens.
So I mean, you've kept all those journals for all these years. Do you have a lot of other memorabilia from the band? Are you kind of the archivist?
Well, I was until June started saving stuff too and going through the boxes that she had stashed away that she didn't want to look at for years.
Oh.
But yeah, June and I have probably the most Fanny stuff, I think, right, June?
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm kind of a hoarder when it comes to tapes. So I was always taping rehearsals because I wanted to hear what we were
Wow.
doing, and sometimes gigs, and putting them in a box somewhere. And so I've been going through those boxes.
Is your hand over your microphone? your voice just got lower.
No, I didn't do a thing.
Just that, if you can move in a little.
Yeah.
Can't hear you as well. Yeah.
And
There you are. There you are. Get your face in there, June.
There you go. That'll be the featured picture on the site.
Yeah.
I just took a shot of us.
Speaking of differing versions of things, is Nikki Barclay's version of things and her thoughts and feelings on the whole affair kind of a sore point for you, or is it just kind of live and let live at this point?
We
He's
don't even know
retired.
what her thoughts are.
Well, Nikki was a very unique personality, and I think Nikki and I were pretty close. I of all of the four original anyway, and Nikki's whole coming to Fanny, she didn't want to join the band because she didn't want to be in an all-girl band. Right. And she's very talented, extremely talented songwriter, musician, but she never was able to, I don't think, she knows, and she has said, when we got on stage, we gave 150%. I mean, it was a show, but I don't think that she was ever able to find that balance in her own being with accepting the fact that June was as talented as she was, or Jean was, or I was, and she had some bad experiences, in the band. So
what bad experiences?
But she's very proud of what we did.
I would love to hear what her bad experiences.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
I would agree with Alice. I think she had a lot going on in her head.
Yeah.
And a lot of history that prevented her from having that total rapport that she might have wanted to have. I experienced the same thing in Fanny too. A lot going on in her head.
Yeah.
It's a real shame because, I mean, this is certainly a time of celebration for you guys, for, to be able to really talk about and revel in all the things you accomplished together, It's,
well,
if she'd been in the film, she wouldn't be talking about the early days when we were romping around together when we were 17, 18. She didn't grow up with us that way.
No, of course.
And so that set us apart from the three of us, really. Although we did try to have a rapport with her as much as we could. But I always to tell you the truth, I always kind of felt like she was just a step away from being one of the guys who was sneering at me in particular. I always felt that she didn't think I was good enough, but that made me try harder, because we were in a band. I wasn't going to hold back because she had an attitude towards me, whether it was said or unsaid. I was going to do the thing, not my thing, the thing.
Right.
With music, which is where you just slam yourself.
I think she was a tough cookie. I mean, trying to marry up, like I said earlier, the group dynamics and different people writing and playing well, etc. I think that was very difficult. I mean, groups are tough anyway to make it all meld. Every person, everybody has their own opinion going on and what they wrote and whatever. But she had a tough time of that. That's my opinion of my time with her.
Yeah, and to your point about wanting to revel in it, I don't feel like I'm reveling in the attention that Fanny's getting now. I'm proud of what we did all along. Right. But Nikki has gotten to a place in her life that she just doesn't need it. She's happy, she's contented, she doesn't want to be involved with it. And I got to respect that. When I came home from Europe recently, I thought, Nikki might have the right idea. Just retire and move away from it. Go away, because it's a lot.
I have the first time that we had a rehearsal at Fanny Hill. I have that on cassette, and we were egging her on to show us the chords to, I think it was Conversation with a Cop. And so we were like yapping away excitedly around her. She was at the piano and she started to play the chords, and she said, "It's not even really finished yet." And I think these are the chords, so we were obviously really happy, and we were like four puppies just romping in the living room at Fanny Hill. And that's a nice thing for me to hear, because it shows, sort of the sparkly feeling in the early days. Even when we learned Cat Fever, for example. I mean, after a year of playing Cat Fever live, I just refused to do it anymore because it was lick after rock and roll lick. I mean, I realize now that, it really is a
Great
good
song.
song. Yeah, but I didn't like playing those licks. Oh, no, I had to play that through the whole song, and I wasn't really listening to Gene singing or whatever. I was like, oh God, I'm so bored. So, bands
I
go through
remember
that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
I
sorry.
remember Nikki pushing the card on our Survivors album. She liked to do that. She liked to test when she didn't like something. And she put on that rainbow crazy wig for our cover on purpose. Like, oh
Oh.
yeah, you're gonna make us crawl in the mud, rock and roll. The management always had their own ideas, and so
Whose
did
idea was
Bogart.
that to crawl
And
in
she
the
wore
mud?
that stupid ass wig, and she was gonna just put it to them. Yeah, okay, here's how I'm showing up.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
for-
Wait,
Good for
whose
her.
idea was that to crawl
Huh?
through the mud? Whose idea was that to crawl through the mud?
Oh, I'm sure it was either Roy's or Neil Bogart. It wasn't our idea.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we had the name of the album and all that, but that was somebody else. Just like when they made you guys dress in the glam
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
always, them trying to make it
Well,
a
what
certain
did
way.
you do? Go to
Yeah.
some riverbank or something where it was wet? I mean, you really looked
Oh, I know. We were in it. Oh no, we crazy.
okay.
It
That
fit
was
the
a-
theme, but her rainbow wig could have been left at home.
One thing that isn't in the movie is you guys played on a Barbra Streisand album. What was that experience like?
I think that, and I've said this before in interviews, but she was so gracious and so together. She came in and said, I don't know how this song goes. You're going to have to teach me. Right. Barbra Streisand's going to come to a session. But June sat with her and went over the song with her.
Well, it was a great acting job, and I just went right along with it. Oh, you don't know the song? You're scared? All right. So I sat across from her and we just sang it a cappella to each other, right?
Right.
And she,
But
now
drive-
I'm ready. Like Alice said, it was an acting job. I think maybe in part, I mean, we already knew her. She'd come to Fanny gigs at the Whiskey, etc. But I think it was her way of just kind of
Making
getting
us-
Breaking the ice. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I drove home. But I drove home from that session, and all of the other famous people that we met in my time with Fanny up until the end of '73, I drove home. I was going back up over Lancashire to the Valley, and I said, "Little Alice de Buhr, you just recorded with Barbra Streisand, Mason City, Iowa. What? I almost hit a cat in the road. I wasn't. I was just. I was done. It was starstruck. Yeah,
One
she
of
was-
those moments. Oh,
Yeah.
What were some other highlights of the whole career for you guys?
Oh, Patti, you have nice stories with David Bowie, which are pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he came to hear us and everything, and he said, these girls. He gave us such an endorsement. It was ridiculous that they need to be recognized. How they got by, and he came in and he told us, always make an appearance. He came in late to the gig and walked in his regalia. And he also had input into our costume on Survivors Tour, the ragged things, which actually I liked. They were sort of raw looking, sort of different. And he had input into that. So, he really loved Fanny. He really was supportive, as so many musicians were. We can all attest to that.
Yeah,
Jeff Beck was like one of my mentors. I jammed with him a million times and stuff. And Leslie West adored my early bands. And, same thing in Fanny. We had just, the musicians were so supportive. All of us felt that.
I remember a night in London, and it was June and Bobby Keys and Mick Jagger and me. And we went back to Bobby Keys' flat and we smoked hash all night long and talked music. There was no stacks.
We went to Mick's apartment. We went to Mick's house because the Nicaraguan woman who was his wife at the time, we were standing in the kitchen having tea, and she swept in and started screaming at me, never even looked at us. I thought that was a great acting job.
Oh, funny.
It was incredible.
It's
really.
great.
I mean, we've seen some moments. That was really one of them. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I don't remember so many moments on stage, but what I do remember is all the guys I jammed with at Fanny Hill before Fanny hit. So
Yeah.
There I would put Lowell George, from the band Little Feat. I would put Skunk Baxter. I would put Elliott from, who played the solo on Reeling in the Years,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know, Jesse Ed Davis, who played the
Yep.
solo on
Mhm.
Jackson Brown's what song is that? One of his first hits. Jesse Ed Davis was a Native American, and he'd always come over with his wife, and we would just sit there for hours, just jamming and talking, and So I love those moments, and I remember those quiet the quiet intimacy. That was what you can share if you're really in the thing, right? We were really into guitar. We were really into music, and we could just play those licks over and over again and just appreciate them for what they were, because that music
Yeah.
was literally inventing itself.
Yeah.
Right. On the flip side of the coin, is there a biggest regret that you all have?
Go there. You can't go there, really.
No,
Try to
it was,
avoid that.
yeah.
I mean, without, I mean, it got you to where you are, right? So whatever happened, it hit, even the bad stuff eventually is part of the whole story that takes you to where you are. So,
Exactly.
right.
Exactly.
Well,
start
my big one is as Butterboy was hitting huge through the US, the internal things going on with Nikki, and she was being wined and dined to do her own solo album. And Bree went off to marry Jim Howard. There was a lot of personal chaos, and the band broke up right as the record was hitting big. That was a regret of mine. Because who knows what would have happened had we continued.
But isn't that really ultimately isn't that really sort of ultimately the kind of this part of the story of Fanny too? It seems timing was never on your side. It seemed like every time you guys were on the cusp of something would happen, or somebody would go, or something would go wrong, or
But that's rock and roll. It happens to many groups.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Part of the story, part of the fabric.
Right. And I mean, I guess that brings me to the obvious question now is how is Jean doing?
Yeah, June.
Well, she's hanging in there, I talk to her as much as we can. So it's usually about 5 times a week. She, in terms of her body, she's still struggling with that. And we do have a GoFundMe to raise money for her for all her therapies. And if you guys are interested, it's GoFundMe/Jean-Millington-Go. Really easy to remember.
Yeah.
And she would have joined us today, but she's got some stuff going with her eyes, so now she's got to see an eye doctor. But I think that she's doing well. You can talk to her. She sang with us in LA, right? She came down, she rehearsed with us. She's totally capable. And when she tells me she doesn't remember words and songs and whatnot, but once you start singing it, she just joins right in. I mean, I'll never forget first time I was talking to her and I was talking about the song, that song that was a hit in the 50s, where they went to the lines and they went to the brambles, they went to the where the rabbits couldn't go. I started singing to that. I heard of that over the phone because I just did it in my live stream, and she just joined right in. I'm like, my God, you can sing.
We're allowed to have some memory stuff at our age. I'm surprised we can get up there and just still rock it out. So
exactly.
She's been using a prompter for 30 years. I mean, there's no shame in that,
Yeah.
The only reason that we're not doing gigs together right now, and I love that the Fanny's gig in LA in late August, is because it costs so much to get us together.
Yeah.
You have to fly us in from different places. You have to make sure the gear's together. You have to make sure we get Jean's son Lee to play bass, all these kind of things. We were only able to pull it off that one time, and it was a special event, but she's capable.
It's amazing. It was so amazing to have, we haven't played together in 40 years. I think Bree remembered the exact time. We never played on the same stage. And how incredible to have 2 drummers up there, going back and forth. And June and I finally got to play guitar, together on guitars, and the whole thing. It was pretty magical. And yeah, we would love to do it more. It just felt good.
Tour.
Felt good.
$1 million, to just.
I know, June and I talk about it all the time. This was fun. 2 guitars.
Yeah. I
That was
love that.
great.
I love that. But
I loved it too. Yeah. Well, we're doing it again in New York City.
yeah,
And
but you, me, and Bree, right? This
I wish you were coming to LA, damn it. Anyway.
So what is the plan going forward then for the band?
The plan is to keep living, to keep breathing, and to keep doing music as much and as well as we can individually and together. Other than that, you can't make a plan because we're at the age where, hey, I woke up this morning. That's a good plan. That's a
You
good
don't know. We're all in line. We just never know when,
Yeah.
So we just take each day as it comes and wake up and enjoy our music
Enjoy it.
passion.
Right.
And that's the way it'll
plan.
go forward.
Enjoy every day. That is the plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's raised in the movie, and I think it's a great point that needs to be made over and over and over again, is that you guys really should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I got no comment.
Your mouth to God's ear.
You're
No
shaking
way.
your head, Alice. You don't want to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
I agree with June. I got no comment.
Yeah, I mean, to care about that is a losing cause, and I'm
Well,
not
of course.
going
Yeah.
down that.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
know.
going-
It's so
Yeah.
political.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like you
Political.
asking me, what do you regret? I don't really regret that much. If
Yeah.
we don't get in the Hall of Fame while we're alive, there's enough people who realize our worth, and who are totally into, why aren't you? That kind of thing. That almost gets us as much publicity as being in the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
And
it's crazy. I looked at that list they put up on some site. It said who wasn't in yet, whatever. It was a big list. And I was looking at the list and I was thinking, oh, it's so friggin' political. I looked at some of these bands that are being considered and they're like one-hit wonders or, never really were mainstream.
Well-
I'm like, how do they come up with these names and
Or
ignore
not rock
so
bands.
many great ones? I just don't get it.
Right.
I mean, with no disrespect to any of the artists who are in or out or not, but there's a lot of people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that make you go, well, wait a minute, this is not rock and roll.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the thing with it is I would much prefer, and if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame thing happens, there's a certain level of legitimacy that you get, which is to me total bullshit.
Yes.
But it would mean more to me if you're walking down the street and you've got your phone and you're playing a Fanny song and somebody says, oh, hey man, that's Fanny. I remember them. Or
Yeah.
if you say, do you remember Fanny? Oh yeah, I know them. That to me would be more meaningful, to have more people aware of the history of rock and roll and what part where we fit into that timeline, because we do matter in that timeline.
Yeah.
Well said, Alice. I
Exactly
like
right this minute.
Said. Yeah. I would also love to see a soundtrack album. I mean, it would seem to be a perfect thing. I mean, I know that there's no new music in the documentary per se, but it seems like a golden opportunity to kind of get a lot of those hits out there in a fresh package for people too.
Bree's
We
been,
all rights to our
Bree's been hard at work on that.
Talk to
Well,
us.
Got some ideas. We'll see
But
what
the
happens.
problem- You see, the problem is we don't earn any money from anything that's out there.
Yeah.
As
No.
far as I know.
Sure.
That
And
is,
we-
for me, a big problem. So that's why I said talk to the Suits, because I'm just not interested in doing anything unless we're part of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have a piece, like, well, yeah, we'll put it up, but you won't make any money. What did I just hear you say?
Well,
I
and
mean,
then I have a suggestion. Re-record those old songs and get
Like-
all those people who give you kudos in the movie to come and do cameos.
like Taylor Swift did.
There you go. Well, we did have some great women on the Walk the Earth one. I
Yes.
called Kenya, and she has her own station, and she sent something called Kathy Valentine. She sent something. Bree got the Bangles. I forget who, but she had one of them come in, and it ended up being all these women that were pretty important in the history sang on that one tune, and it became like a woman's anthem. I just love that tune. Well,
Mhm.
written.
And the
I
other
would
thing is,
love-
Okay, sorry.
Sorry, June. Real quick. This is a real quick one. I would really love to get our masters back
Mhm.
and be able to mix them down at IMA and have it sound the way we wanted it to sound, if it was at all possible.
Yeah, yeah.
The
I feel the same on our album. I would love to have it mixed down and, done.
Well, all
Okay.
that stuff, it's all Rhino, right? I mean, except for the last album, it's all Warner's, right?
it's Warner Music
It's
Group.
reprise. Yeah.
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 And you You
by
can't
a
get your hands
Russian
on them?
oligarch. I
I
talked.
can't really pull all the cards out right now, but there's some stuff in the works.
Yeah.
Great. Well, yeah, I mean, because I mean, I got that. I was a little young for you, and for the very first run. But I mean, I knew of you in the '80s, but when I really first came on board was the Rhino handmade box set in 2002. That one for me was sort of the beginning of the whole story. But
Yeah.
that's, that was a limited run thing, and that was 20 years ago. And I mean, I know everything's online today, but I think a vinyl reissue thing for you guys would be absolutely perfect these days.
Perfect, but
Vinyl is
we
in.
need to make some money off of it. That's the
Yeah.
problem, because they don't want to share that. They all
Yeah.
think, oh, well, we're making all the money now. Why should we include them in the whole
Right.
thing?
Well, I know
Cherry
that.
Red has it. In England, they put out ours, but they're the only one that did the conglomeration, because inside their, paper, it has the pictures of all the Fannies and the songs, and it tells more of the story. So that's the only one out there still that
Well,
like a combo.
yeah, Real Gun Music has reissued the
Right.
CD, and I've worked with them to do that. And they've got, something coming in September. Okay.
Okay.
Gonna make any money off of it?
Yes, we make royalties.
I can hardly believe it, because I don't receive them. So that's
Well,
just kind of a,
No, you know where they're going, June. They're going to Gene.
oh, okay, let's have a, because this has been going on for years.
Yeah.
That they've been putting it out, and they have not been going to Gene the whole time. So anyway, I have a thing about that, because I feel like Fanny has been taken advantage of. And you talk about respect. Respect to me is when they come to us first and say, and this is what you'll make, and by the way, you won't have to go after the money. We'll send it to you. You won't have to do any detective work and hire lawyers and this and that. And just as an afterthought, your wonderful suggestion right there. Why don't you re-record all this stuff? Do you know how much that work that is? I mean, I am 74.
Of course, yeah.
Okay? You
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Okay. And how much money that would cost? So,
Yeah.
I mean, when you say throw something like that out and it sounds fun and easy, that is a lot of work, because we would have to get first of all, it had to sound good, and we would have to get the energy up of how we were when we were 20 to 25. That's a tough nut to, we could do it, but we'd have to have a hell of a budget.
Yeah.
So,
When I was, the guy from Casablanca wrote a book about our days in Casablanca and all the artists they handled. And I remember him telling me personally on the phone that the manager had said, don't worry, Neil, you don't have to pay them. They're happy playing. And I mean, that kind of shit goes on, like June was saying, they take advantage. And, that happened on our album too, where they took advantage. They didn't really give us anything in royalties and stuff. It sucks.
Talk about respect, RESPECT. Find out what
Exactly.
is what it would mean to me at this point in life.
And that was from the manager telling the record company owner that, oh, don't worry, they don't have to get paid.
Yeah.
What? I was shocked when he told me that that's what had happened.
I mean, that's been the music business kind of since day one, though, right? I mean, do you think you guys were treated worse than other acts of the day, who obviously the superstars got a better deal, but I mean, even some of them,
We got a 4-album deal when we signed with Reprise.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening with everybody.
Right.
And they gave us those 4 albums. Now they didn't on Mother's Pride, the last album that I and June were on, that it was a fight for promotion dollars, but I think that there were a lot of male bands that didn't get a multi-album deal.
Right.
So.
Wow.
You say, and when it comes to respect, at least you're getting it now, thanks to the movie, I think.
Did you guys?
We're getting it from the fans. We're getting it from the fans.
Absolutely, the rediscovery.
Yeah.
June, did you see Todd posted it on his site?
I didn't see it.
Okay. Do you know? I mean, I almost died. He's been our client for 40 years.
Oh wow.
Isn't that funny? He's one of my clients, so we've been laughing about it. What a small world.
Yeah.
His wife is in Fanny, and he did your album, and we handle them. Small
There you go.
world. But he has a lot of respect. Yeah, he posted it.
Well,
I gotta
well
go.
deserved. All right, ladies, listen, that's all I've got for you today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. Thanks so
Thank you
much
so
for the music and the movie and everything. And best of luck with everything going forward.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah.
See ya.
Oh, wait. Wait, do that again. I'm going to take a photo.
I'll
Wait.
see you in New York, June.
Yeah, man.
Coming right up.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
All right.
All
All
right.
right, bye.
See you later.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.